Story 1. Bowling is so weird because I have been an all-around athlete in high school and college. However, this just seems to be my Achilles heel. I look like a dog trying to walk on hind legs and be casual about it like a normal person when trying to bowl. Story 2. Being stable on my own 2 feet. I trip myself up, trainers, shoes, sliders, flip-flops. It's always the path's fault though. I've nearly gone head over heels because of it. Story 3. Parallel parking. I once tried to park between 2 cones during my driving test and somehow ended up facing the opposite direction. At this point, if a parking spot requires any maneuvers, I just circle the block until one opens up that I can drive straight into like a battering ram. Story 4. Using chopsticks. People have tried to show me, and I have tried to use them, but I just do not possess the fine motor skills to do it. Story 5. Comically anything athletic. And we are here at day 15 of the Muscular Dystrophy Cornhole Telethon. Story 6. Flags. I am a relatively smart person and good with geography, but for some reason my brain will not retain which flag belongs to which country. It used to bother me, but I have given up. Story 7. I cannot cook well. Additionally, I have a low spice tolerance and face criticism frequently, especially as a dark-skinned woman. Story 8. Wrapping gifts is challenging for me. You simply fold paper around a box, but mine often look messy and hastily done. Story 9. Basketball, like a woman who is no longer sexually attracted to me, is bad. Also, I accidentally hit a student square in the face. Story 10. Apparently throwing axes. Went axe throwing for fun with my friends at an arcade. Threw it onto the ceiling. Oops. Story 11. Sports. I cannot do anything well, but I tried basketball, football, baseball, track, and swimming with poor results. Story 12. Remembering when someone's birthday can be challenging. I know my parents', my wife's, and my best friend's birthdays. I can probably guess my sister's. My wife shares the same day as mine, just a different month. It took well over a decade to learn my best friend's birthday, but I finally got it. Story 13. Swimming. I never learned how to swim as a child, so all I can do is dog paddle. It was cute when I was young, but as an adult it looks goofy. Story 14. Playing the drums. Some practice sessions are alright. Some days I can't string together rudiments. I still love to try. Story 15. Cakes. I love baking, and I am good at it. Just not cake. Every time I try, I get a monster out to devour me, my kitchen, and half of Illinois. Story 16. People and the opposite sex. I grew up in an emotionally abusive household, which left me hyper-independent and unable to deal with any human relationship. Story 17. Driving is challenging for me because I have very poor eyesight. I dread going places since I genuinely struggle to read the signs and even make out objects on the road. The feeling of not being able to fully see when one-ton vehicles are flying by is unsettling. Story 18. Walking is challenging. Either an ankle gives way, or I trip over something, or I slip. Even when I manage to stay upright, my depth perception seems impaired because my shoulders, arms, and legs, especially my knees, collide with door frames, doors, or tables. I have broken ribs, broken metatarsals, broken toes, sprained ankles, cuts, bruises, and scrapes. I am a disaster on 2 legs. Story 19. I am a great cook and baker, but I cannot manage to make a decent soup even if my life depends on it. Story 20. Sometimes, when trying to move an ice tray, I fumble and spill water everywhere. I spill things even though I know I have to be careful. Story 21. Mario Kart. I always get the hang of a game after a while and become very good, or at the very least, decent. For some reason, no matter how many times I play that game, I just perform poorly, like comically bad. Story 22. Dressing myself is challenging. I try to wear decent, normal outfits but just cannot do it. I am not an eccentric dresser. It is simply hard with pants, shirts, shoes, and colors. Story 23. Keeping inappropriate and usually harsh comments that pop into my head when someone says something unintelligent from spilling out of my mouth. Also, controlling my facial expressions is impossible. Story 24. I cannot snap my fingers like most people do. I never learned how. I cannot make my fingers bend the correct way. It is funny but embarrassing. Story 25. Directions. I have no sense of direction. I spend time going places knowing I will turn wrong at least twice. Story 26. Offending people. I do not mean to offend people, but I have no filter. I do not realize that I have said something wrong until I pick up on social cues like facial expressions and tones of voice. I find I am always apologizing for opening my mouth, and sometimes I feel it would be better for me to keep my mouth closed permanently. I also find it difficult to pick up on hidden meanings. I get so frustrated. Say what you mean. Do not mess me around, hoping I will guess that you really mean something else behind your words. Story 27. First-person shooter games. Friends invite me to play purely to laugh at me. I just don't have the coordination and end up falling off maps, shooting my feet, then the sky, walking into the line of fire, and so on. Story 28. Singing and dancing, which I would never be caught doing publicly anyway. Humor is subjective, but sometimes my humor is not funny to others. It can come out awkward, and they either fake laugh or have no reaction. Sports, most of them. I found this out the hard way thanks to gym classes. Snapping my fingers. I cannot do it at all, but I can at least whistle a bit. Cooking basic dishes can come out okay. But when I try to make other things, they turn out bad. Story 29. Starting or maintaining a fire is the oldest human skill. My whole continent is periodically on fire, and I am absolutely useless at it. My husband is a volunteer firefighter and has shown me on multiple occasions how to set and light a good fire, but I still cannot do it. I have been laughed at for my campfire attempts. Story 30. Gardening, apparently. Transplanted a bunch of plants 2 days ago. There was nothing wrong with the way it was done. The roots were mostly intact, they were standing up just fine and watered. By yesterday, all 9 raspberry bushes and both cucumber plants were already drooping and losing color. This is not the first time this has happened. Story 31. When ironing clothes, I either burn myself or the garment I am attempting to straighten. I also seem to add more creases than I remove. Story 32. Horticulture. A brown thumb. I have the watering schedule in my phone, but the plants still die. My fake plants died. Story 33. Poker face. I am unable to hide how I am feeling. My eyes betray me every time. Strangers do not tend to notice, but family and friends find it amusing. I am the person everyone looks at when someone says something stupid or outrageous. Story 34. When I was in 6th grade, I joined the chess club after learning how to play. My social studies teacher was the head coach of the club and he was really good. Everyone in the chess club was welcoming, helpful, and supportive, even though I was terrible at chess. Our club played in chess tournaments several times a year, and I lost every game at every tournament we attended. I had a lot of fun and met many great people, but I never won a single game. Our club placed second or worse in every tournament we played. After a year of playing without improving, I decided that chess club was not for me, so I did not rejoin in 7th grade. Without me, our team won multiple tournaments and advanced to the state championships. So, I am comically, tragically, and even a little traumatically bad at chess. Story 35. Platforming games like Mario. If you want someone unable to beat a single level of the second world of Mario 3, then look no further. Story 36. I don't know left from right. My brain never learned how to just know. If I don't have a watch or ring on, it will take me a few seconds to figure it out, and even then I am still wrong sometimes. Do not ask me for directions because I always get them wrong. Story 37. Navigating. I have been with my boyfriend for 9 months, and I still use my car navigation system to get to his house. Story 38. Making rice in a cooking pot. I never learned how, and I am Asian. We had a rice cooker in my family home, and I have had one since living on my own. Story 39. Fishing. I was on a river trip in high school, and the first time I tried, I got the line caught in a tree. A mentor on the trip showed me how to cast more sideways to avoid the overhead trees and tight space. Somehow, I still got it caught in a tree, just a tree to my side and not the one above me. Story 40. Riding a shop tricycle. They are like a big tricycle with a basket on the back, and we use them to get around the plant faster. I just get on it, and my brain just goes, ah, panic, and then I run into a dumpster. One of the main ways I exercise is on my bicycle, and I can drive all the forklift trucks at work, so I am pretty unskilled. Story 41. Sports, specifically baseball or softball. Never in my life have I managed to make the bat and ball connection. Story 42. Taking a shot. I just end up drinking it. I have taken one smooth shot in my life, my last one a few months ago. I am 33. Story 43. Carrying on a conversation beyond me getting from point A to point B and wanting to end it. Story 44. Falsetto. Straight up, I am a good singer, but that one technique has eluded me my entire life. I sound like an animal being suffocated trying to sing even a small bit of falsetto. It is embarrassing. Story 45. Reading. English was really the only subject I did not excel at in school. Honestly, I think having to dig deep into meaningless nonfiction material ruined my love for reading. Story 46. Life. Honestly, I wonder daily if I am being pranked. If someone recorded my life, they would not believe it. Story 47. Communicating my thoughts. I prefer precise communication over concise communication if it conveys the full idea clearly, leaving no room for interpretation. This causes me to use a unique vocabulary with uncommon words and makes me struggle to understand slang and jargon. Story 48. Roller skating. I did it for my birthday and I fell on my butt 3 times. Each fall was harder than the last. I had to stop after an hour of trying because one more bad landing and I was going to shatter my pelvis. Story 49. Making oatmeal. No matter how hard I tried, I could not make even halfway decent oatmeal. I gave up years ago and now just eat muesli. Story 50. I never thought about it. I suppose skiing. Every time I ski, I always fall down and have a tough time trying to heave myself back up. Skateboarding I am not good at, and I have never surfed before in my life. I have a poor sense of balance. Story 51. I say this as a former college athlete who excelled at most sports. For whatever reason, I just cannot play basketball well. I do not know why I cannot properly play that sport decently. I am good at every other sport, but basketball is the one sport I will never master under any circumstances. Story 52. Jump rope. It is no wonder that when I was 7 years old, I fell face down on the floor while jumping rope at school, and my forehead was purple for 2 weeks. Story 53. Dancing. If someone put a gun against my head and threatened to shoot me if I do not dance, I would rather grab the gun and shoot myself than dance. Story 54. My short-term memory is very poor. It always has been. I lose things constantly, forget what people just told me, and cannot remember names. Story 55. Not doing vaudeville-styled slapstick bits in public. I am aware no one really pays attention to people in public, but last week my alarm for class went off, and I fell out of my chair in the lecture hall and said, "Ow, my tush." Everyone laughed. Story 56. I find it hard to listen to people who talk in groups or in an outdoor setting. My hearing is fine, but I just cannot comprehend the words in a public place for some odd reason. Story 57. Maintaining adult relationships is very disappointing. It creates a constant feeling of being unwanted that keeps recurring every few years. After a certain point, I stop reaching out because not trying becomes better than the pain of rejection by people I once regarded as friends. Story 58. Taking pills. I am almost 27 years old. Soon, taking pills will be mandatory in my life. I am very upset. Story 59. Winking. I literally cannot wink. When I try, my entire head winks. It is hard to explain, you would have to see it. I cannot do just one eye. My husband swears I look like a weird, obsessed character from a possession movie. Story 60. Geography just does not stick. I have no idea why, since I am a visual learner and I am good with maps for navigation. I asked my best friend if Quebec is in South America once. I took Spanish in high school. We learned the countries in South America. Story 61. Small talk is not really bad. I just hate it with a burning passion. I cannot remember the last time I was able to get through a conversation about the weather without wanting to tear my own tongue out. Story 62. Diving. I failed my swimming lessons 2 years in a row because I could not dive well. I once thought I would have to learn quickly if I went off a high dive, so I tried to dive that way. I belly flopped and hit the water so hard that my swimsuit bottoms came off, and a crowd of people saw everything. Ultimately, my mom decided to take pity on me and not make me take lessons anymore. Story 63. Talking. Any job that requires me to talk to customers, and I cannot tell the time on an analog clock no matter how many times I have tried to learn. It never sticks. Story 64. Accents. I think I am pretty good at them, but I imagine that I am not, so I can laugh at myself. Story 65. I have zero sense of direction. I once read a map upside down and got completely lost in some hills. I routinely get lost looking for the car in parking lots. I cannot give usable directions. Everyone in my family has learned the hard way not to ask me for directions. I struggle even with the global positioning system. Story 66. Not arguing a point with random strangers on the internet. I wish this were a joke post, but I just cannot scroll past something I reject, think is hypocritical, or find simply right or wrong. I really wish I could. It has cost friendships and resulted in a bunch of negative karma on Reddit. It is a problem. Story 67. Remembering roads and giving or receiving directions. I have to drive the same route more than 10 times just to get familiar with it. Thank God for the global positioning system. I use it all the time, even in my hometown. Had I been born 50 years earlier, I would have struggled a lot. Story 68. Untying knots in shoelaces, drawstrings on pants or shorts, or whatever. For some reason, I just can't get it right. I loosen it a little, think I'm good to pull, then end up making it tighter. My wife usually has to do it for me. Story 69. Not falling asleep on the couch when watching television. I do not have a sleeping disorder or anything. My couch is just really comfortable, and my dogs are like personal space heaters. I get cozy and pass out 4 to 5 days a week. Story 70. Remembering things can be challenging. You can ask me to do something, and I might make a mistake as soon as I begin. This happens to me so often that I am starting to wonder if there is something wrong with me. Story 71. Homework. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is very difficult to do for tasks I do not actively want to do. Even worse, from a young age, I overcompensated for my fear of failure by learning to keep my expectations extremely low. I am now very good at just going, dang, I guess I will fail this class, and moving on as if I already have, instead of doing the assignments. Story 72. Speaking English and German, the only languages I know, by the way, though I am better at speaking German than I am speaking English phonetically. Also, I don't understand my native language, which is ironic, isn't it? Story 73. No one knows that I absolutely hate social events. Why? I was taught very well to hide my discomfort, and because of that, I appear to be very happy to be there. Masking is the name of the game. Story 74. Economy. I have several times received some alarming mail with many large numbers. I ask my mother every time what it is, and she says, "Honey, that is your paycheck." Story 75. Making changes in my head. I tried Domino's pizza delivery before online ordering. I tried waiting drinks at a bowling alley. Customers at both places accused me of presumptuously taking tips, but I honestly could not do the math. People laughed at me when I wanted to use calculators, so I quit and went into healthcare and later marketing, both of which encourage using calculators when needed. Story 76. Directions to locations. It takes at least 5 visits before I can get the directions right without looking at the maps. Story 77. Math. I am an honors student, all A's except in math. I am so bad at it, my instructor expects me to fail and announces to the class when I don't, as if I have solved world hunger. For example, recently I took a test and had many points marked off because I forgot how to multiply halfway through. When I was younger, maybe 11 or 12, I had a point marked off because in the middle of a calculation I said 1 + 1 = 1. I wish I were kidding. Story 78. swallowing food and drinks. I do not know what my problem is, but every other day I either choke on something, it goes down wrong and hurts a lot, or half of it ends up down the front of my shirt rather than in my mouth. Story 79. I trip up steps almost daily. What is even funnier is that it is genetic. My father and sister are the same way. Story 80. Anaerobic exercise. The fact that I have been dancing for 4 years yet can barely do one push-up is quite embarrassing. Story 81. Opening packets and boxes always looks like a cat tried to open them through the letterbox. It is a combination of having fibromyalgia, which causes pain in my hands and wrists, and having little to no patience. Story 82. Playing a guitar. I could not even hold one properly. Also socializing, but that is a given on the internet. Story 83. Singing and dancing. This is why you will never see me do either of these things in public or around a group of people, not even my closest friends. Story 84. Navigation. I once drove to a small town in the south of our country, Belgium, and realized I was driving the wrong way when I saw the ocean, which is in the west. The good thing is that one can drive from one side to the other in about 4 hours. Story 85. Any kind of first-person shooter or similar game in front of my boyfriend. I swear every time he turns his back or I am not playing with him, I am instantly better. I do not understand why. I have been playing games like them on and off for years, but just look like a complete fool when he is with me. When Counter-Strike 2 was still called Counter-Strike Global Offensive, I was pretty decent at it, but now, for some weird reason, anything like it, I just cannot. Story 86. Jumping. My feet do not leave the ground more than 3 inches. No matter how hard I try, I just cannot jump well. Story 87. Remembering numbers can cause performance anxiety. I worry about forgetting, which makes my mind race, and then I end up forgetting. Story 88. Flirting. In 7th grade, I bought my crush a copy of Grand Theft Auto 5 unexpectedly, and we stopped chatting after that. Story 89. Catching eels with my bare hands. They always slither away within 57 milliseconds. Very sad. I got one in a box once, but it escaped and slithered down a hill into the creek 30 meters away. Story 90. Tying a tie. I mean, I could probably do a good job now with YouTube, but for years I was hopeless and had to get a woman or a person at the clothing store to tie it for me. Story 91. My friends and I joke that I have a comically low luck statistic. It is comical because I am never unlucky enough for something really bad to happen. Story 92. Trying to talk about anything. I am so bad at articulating. For example, when I get an idea to solve a problem and someone asks me to explain, I explain it in such a confusing way that I wonder why I even spoke in the first place. I swear there has to be some 6-year-old kid who speaks better than me. It is embarrassing. Story 93. Being social. Chances are I have absolutely zero desire to talk to you, and you are going to know it because I also am bad at putting on a fake face and making small talk. Story 94. Directions. I don't know if right-left dyslexia is a real condition, but I certainly have it. If I am driving and you tell me to turn left, there is a 50% chance that I will turn right. Story 95. Making decisions. I will literally stand in front of 2 identical shirts for 20 minutes as if I am solving world peace. Story 96. I never learned to tie my shoelaces the traditional way. I just do the first tie, then tie the bunny ears together. I vividly remember trying and not getting it as a kid, and then my father taught me a shortcut. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.